79T 2458 Learning Corp, Little Red Riding Hood, take one.
40 years of my life is in the wire that's gone. Does that make sense?
Where they say there are Indian people pooping on our beach.
It's a spool of wire. 40 years of my life is in the wire that's gone.
As soon as I saw that burning McDonald's thing, I was like, I've got to have it. I've got to have it. And I have it. Hey, welcome, guys. Welcome, one. Welcome, all. Let's get it just a little bit louder. Let me know if the levels are good. For some reason, this thing keeps changing on me, and I cannot stand it. Anyways, welcome. We got Red Morning. I have a fun one for you. Got a fun one for you. First things first. Thank you to all. Let's get this puppy in the view. There we go. Get that right in there. Dude, it's like going better than I would have expected. So this is like a huge thank you to you guys. I'm glad you've been enjoying it. I'm glad you're liking it. The first 2 weeks? Yeah, 14th to 28th. So first 2 weeks, 500 of you guys, which is insane. That's on par to be the best book that I've ever put out and the best one you guys have ever read. So how awesome is that? A space comedy review just dropped. Is that today? I thought that's tomorrow. Anyways, I'll give you a quick update here, then we're getting to the Zoomers. Because, oh, dude. I gotta admit, as soon as I was, like, not so much done with the manosphere or the red pill, because, like, I'm still here doing stuff, but I just kind of expanded out. It's like, I want to see what other people do with their damn time. Oh, it did publish out. Oh, that's good. Day early. Good for you guys, then. But it's like other people are kind of more interesting. Like, this all the same beefs. If you're like, oh, I don't want to see people yelling at each other, calling each other incels and all the debate thing. And I was like, that's there too. So it's pretty funny. So yeah, updates here. Second channel, Orion. Got a great lineup for you. Just released this morning. It was supposed to be tomorrow morning, but heck with it. Heck with it. If you get there quickly before I quickly reschedule the thing, I'll leave it unlisted for a minute. So those of you who are watching it, continue to watch it. For those of you who haven't watched it, you go watch it tomorrow. That's when it's supposed to come out. The greatest disco British sci-fi sexploitation comedy in existence. Spaced out. Like, how do you not have fun with that one? That's going to be out this week. And next week, it's going to be King of New York, which, if you guys have never heard of it, it's New Jack City. It's Scarface, but it's awesome. It's just awesome. I don't know how you don't enjoy it. And then, week after that, Ghost in the Shell. You guys are finally, like, I finally do anime, and, like, you're supposed to pick the most obscure stuff. Like, it's like the most popular one next to Cowboy Bebop and Akira, and I'm like, yeah, but we're starting where we're starting. A lot of people do not know anime too well, so I'm treating it as, like, much less known than you think it is. So that's on the Orion channel. It's going to be awesome. And we had a great time on Fridays. T-Rex live stream on Fridays. You guys gave me some great ideas actually about some stuff that was so old I had forgotten about, but was still a banger. Like Highlander 2 was on the list, which I'm one of the few people that preferred it to the original, but that's okay. That's okay. I think it's whichever one you watched first is the one you fell in love with. And the idea of like cyberpunk is just, I'm all on it right now. Obviously, I'm writing the new book on that. So Substack. Every Tuesday, I have case studies and field reports, similar to what you see already in Praxeology Volume 3. So you're going to see a continuation of that series, mostly dealing with the basics. Covert contract type stuff, singing, dancing, monkey improvement program stuff, guys who are essentially making very basic mistakes, and they're all making the same mistakes. So I think the idea is to like reiterate as much as possible those simple, basic mistakes that everybody is making, so that you guys can make less if you're into that sort of thing. So let's face it, if you've been here long enough, you probably are past it right now. So maybe a part of you likes to rubberneck and see what the youngins are up to now. That one's there. That one's there. Dog walker's here. Oh yeah. So bookwise, Dog Walker selling like hotcakes. It's something I have never seen before, by the way, which is awesome. You guys have been buying more paperbacks and hardcovers. So it's normally what happens is Kindle will outsell the book 2-1. But now we're running 50-50. So it's either shout out to Ray is here, one of the cover artists for that one, helping with an amazing cover design, or just you guys are really angry at Kindle because of that whole you can't download things anymore. It's also on Kobo if you have one of those, but so far it doesn't look like anybody does have one of those. Sako watched Spaced Out last week after the recommendation. Classic. Yeah, here, we'll give you the intro. We'll give you the trailer for it. You'll like it.
I tolerate no resistance. Fairly evenly matched.
Do you love gratuitous nudity? Do you love a good science fiction story? Do you love comedies?
What is the cube root of 3,264.5?
Did you ever think Monty Python was great, but wish it had more spaceships and mommy milkers?
That's normal where I come from.
How about a movie with gratuitous nudity? Just because it's awesome. Do you yearn for that perfect blend in an amusing comedy romp? Stories that are so simple they border on nonsensical.
That's right, Sonny. Put your money in, I sort out your hang-up.
A movie that takes a basic premise. Brits on a night out who get kidnapped by aliens that all look like British women and turns it into high art.
He's got one of the most advanced bodies in the universe.
It's 1979, at the peak of the Cold War. Nuclear annihilation from incompetent pink commies seems right around the corner, and sometimes guys just needed a release. I don't know if the cast is any good.
You can't win them all, kiddo.
I don't know what the director did besides this, and honestly, I don't care.
Oh, and be careful. It's extremely dangerous.
One of the girls is Ava Cadell, best-selling author, and she was in Commando with Arnold for gratuitous nudity, which is awesome.
What's that? Have you got a weapon down there?
They don't make movies like this anymore. It's got nudity, jokes, science fiction, and 90 minutes of pure fun. Did I mention the nudity? Yeah, back in the day, you could have a sex scene as long as you didn't show the baby-making bits.
Please. There, I got a lovely exposure.
You could also make it funny. Kids these days don't know how to laugh at a good boob joke. But that changes today. It's the timeless story of Britain. It's the classic humor your dad grew up with.
It's growing.
It's a hidden gem. And it actually has a good story if you bother to pay attention, though you probably won't. It's Spaced Out, 1979.
You have one of the most advanced bodies in the universe. Do you feel better, Ollie?
What?
It's not fair.
No one saw that coming. A 45-year-old British sex comedy. Like, what the? What the? Dude, I don't think the algorithm's gonna like it. It might. The boobs might sell it, but it's like not like people are like looking up like, wonder what happened in the late 70s that was awesome. Probably not. So it's fun and it's enjoyable. You can see the pivot is complete. Look, I get it. If you're still new and you're in the anger phase, I get it. Wish you luck. I have a collection of 800 or so videos over the last 6 years. You're more than welcome to go through them. Go that same rabbit hole everybody else did. Start the podcast 5 years back. You can have it too. Yeah, no yellow glasses, no pink hat for this one. And I'll tell you right now. Off to Bouncers, listen to Bob Saget give advice. Oh yeah, a niche within a niche within a niche. Anyway, so where we're going with this one? Oh yeah, so like yeah, it's just hard to stoke anger for that long, and I'm not really like, I guess if I was selling some how to be pissed off at your ex-girlfriend course, that'd be probably great to stoke the anger. I just don't have the wherewithal for it this much. So at this point I'm like, why aren't we having fun? The whole point of this. Rolo, me, illimitable man's goofy little monetization thing, the GLO crap, the Anthony Johnson, Whisper, what's his name? Fisher. What's his PK atheist slash red pill school slash Fisher with his whole getting fired from the U.S. State House. It's like all of this stuff was here, and it was like everybody was talking about, yeah, we're here, you know, put the information out that's here, wider dissemination, make it work, and like what happened? Everybody just, I guess it's not as easy as it looks. Most people are just gone right now. I don't know who's still doing what, if anybody's changed or advanced or, you know, compiled things. It's just weird. And I know this is getting kind of rambly, but it's leading to the point. So here's the point. I'm over it. You're over it. I'm over it. We're going for something bigger, better. What do you do after you're angry? We'll get better. And what do you do when you're better? Well, you use it as best you can. The Zoomers. You seen these kids? They're the ones aged, I don't remember what the generation date was. It's after millennials. So it's like after Harry Potter came out, but before the new Star Wars came out. I think I have to judge our generations based on the quality of the trilogies. So like Gen X would have been the Star Wars trilogy, and then millennials would have been either Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter. And then the Zoomers, I think, are Star Wars, and I don't know what other one is. The one with Chris Pratt. The one with Ryan Reynolds. The one with The Rock and Kevin Hart. Anyway, so the Zoomers are going through the same life path that everybody else has gone through. And right now they are in the I can't find a girlfriend phase, and I have a hard time getting on my feet phase, and it really sucks for them. Because, like, we remember as millennials, remember how much it sucked for millennials. I don't know about you guys, but when I got here, like, when I went to university for graphic design, they were still teaching, like, lithography and stuff, and that was just gone. Like, they got us a little bit of computers, and then as soon as I started working in the field, the internet came. Everything changed right away. Gutted the industry, went out, whatever. Military, same thing. Got in, joined. As soon as we got in, global war on terror, we thought everything was going to be good. Turns out to be a giant, big monetary grift, whatever. So like the 2008, yeah, we're getting our houses now. 2008, fuck your house. So we're used to rug pulls, but Zoomers are just getting exposed to rug pulls for the first time. And oh boy, it sucks for them too, because they don't know how to process this stuff. And there is a never-ending list of goddamn grifters there with their charts and their statistics. And they're repeating each other's goofy platitudes out there. So that way they'll fill their head with stupidity. Oh my God, have you seen this chart? It's hypergamy. It means all the girls are dating the one guy and all the other guys are fighting over the ugly girl. And oh my God, the fruit flies. There's that fruit fly study which shows the fruit fly girls steal 5 or 6 DNAs from dudes and make some chimera thing. And it's just like people because it's a study that says what I want. And all the Zoomers are looking at this, are like, what the hell? And obviously a lot of it, they're not stupid. So a lot of it they realize is kind of stupid, but a lot of it is kind of like, it sinks in. Dating apps are crap. But here's the point of it that I wanted to bring in here. I am noticing the parallels between the Zoomer generation trying to get their adult wings and spread out, sow their oats and stuff. It's exactly the same grief that millennials got when we were first, with the Gen Z guys, when we were first doing like pickup and the red pill. Like it's like cyclic version of history, and it's absolutely amazing. Creamy's off to walk the dog in his tuxedo plaid. Catch the rest of the stream later. Good to see you again, sir. Off to the bouncers. Yeah. It's the same thing. Because I remember this when I was doing the pickup thing back when I was the Zoomer's age. And everybody was all about, oh my God, you have to learn this in the book. This is so cringe. Oh, nobody falls for this. And oh, dear God, heaven forbid, in polite society, you talk about the neg. Ugh, not coddling a woman? What are you, Hitler? You're like, fuck. Yeah, it was funny. And then same thing with the red pill stuff. And there was like a meme we had for the longest time where there was like 6 phases, right? You guys are horrible and this is all wrong. Okay, it's not wrong, but it only works on low quality women. Oh, it's totally right and it works on women, but do you have to be so mean when you say it? And then like everybody knows that. Why do you have to read it in a book? What are you, some kind of autist? And it was just so funny that like thing after thing after thing kept going through the same cycle. And I'm watching Zoomers do that on the economic front. Like, there's literally people out there, like the Panda Express discourse. Oh my God. If you guys are not on Twitter, I'll give you the recap so you don't have to, because it was pretty bad. There was a whole bunch of, and it was setting the stage. It's 2024. There's hope in America again. It's morning in America. Donald Trump, after surviving multiple assassination attempts by both the media and crazed Redditor gunslingers, was brought in as the President of the United States for the second time. Not since President Coolidge, I think, has anybody had 2 non-consecutive terms. He brought in the newest and the brightest millennial, J.D. Vance, this hillbilly that went to war and came back a statesman. The country was looking up for the future, but we still had a couple months of bullshit. All the conservative grifters who made their entire bones on just, I hate liberals. And everybody was eating it up because they hated liberals too. And now Trump won. And not only did he win, he won the House. And he won the Senate. And he won everything. He couldn't stop winning. There was memes about it. It was great. It was glorious time for all. But then there was a problem. What did the conservative grifters do? What do you do when your enemy is vaporized in a day? There's no more progressives to yell at. There's no more troons in the bathroom. Matt Walsh, save us, you're our only hope. And Matt Walsh looked to the teleprompter of which his small-hatted producer sent him, read from the teleprompter and said, I know how to save us. Young men, you have been disenfranchised by progressives for long enough. You have been passed over by jobs from women and LGBTs and whatever. But I have your solution. Go get a job at Panda Express. And the Zoomers were like, what the fuck? It was just amazing. It was just, yeah, you guys need to quit and give up. Trust me. Let the third world diaspora handle all the top finance positions, the police, the politicians, the writers, anything of worth. We need you guys putting the fries in the bag. But not just that. If you work hard, you might get to be a manager someday. Eh? And then when you're a manager, you can earn $100,000 a year, which in 2008 dollars sounded pretty good, but in 2025 cash, that's like the equivalent of a $30,000 job back in the day. It's not very good. So the Zoomers got mad. They're like, what's the point of being a conservative if you're just going to be an asshole? And Cernovich was the first one that fell in the Battle of Helm's Deep. Horatio Troonblower took the Horn of Gondor and blew for Daily Wire's assistance, but they did not come, and the Zoomer orcs ran him down. Which, by the way, out of 20 years, everybody's kind of known about Cernovich's goofy little Troon article and his stupid little fetishes and his grifts and all that, but it took the Zoomers like 15 minutes of knowing who the hell he was to come up with the greatest name in the history of nicknames, Horatio Troonblower. And I just, like, all I can do is picture him with the Horn of Gondor. It's just amazing. Yeah, keep being the best bellboy you can be, and one day you get a bellman. But, like, and this is the same message that everybody was getting too. I remember this when I was the upstart young man, you know. It's go on a bunch of dates. I mean, it's at the point now, it's almost cliche to people where they don't even remember that, you know, you got to be friends before you start, like, all that stuff was there. It was there. Whether you believed it or not, it's another question. That all depends on how sexually successful you were. But, like, that was the Panda Express of the 2000s. Bro, just make friends first. It'll be great. Meanwhile, everybody was sleeping with everybody. I mean, first off, Cernovich, he was sleeping with Troons. Jack Murphy was passing his girl around. Tucker Max, Roosh was doing his debauchery. Pretty much everybody from back in the day then was just doing everything. But they're telling you, just go to church, buy her dinner, swipe. Back then, Facebook was a dating app where you would just, like, poke somebody on Facebook and they would say, hey, what's up? And you'd send back ASL, like age, sex, location. the old leet speak from the 90s. And then you would hook up and realize this is great. And then you realize after a while, like, your grandparents can see all this. And they're like, I gotta go. And you left to OkCupid. And then OkCupid was great. But then all the uggos and the weirdos showed up in the third world diaspora. So it killed Toronto pickup, by the way. And then they ran off to Plenty of Fish. And then from there, they ran off to Tinder. And then from Tinder to Hinge. And now it's balkanized. There's like 500 apps. And it's at the point now where like any app is a dating app if you try hard enough. Like I'm seeing more people get dating success from Twitter. Look at Twitter than Hinge and Tinder. Which is hilarious because I can almost tell. You can really tell who's the ones that are dating. Like there's a couple girl accounts on there. They're all interesting enough. And they're cool to talk with. And they laugh at all the crassness. And then once they find a boyfriend, their account just disappears. And then when they break up, they come back. And it's just funny. It's just funny. You can like literally tell. Like Kate. Do you remember Kate? Was there Deadlifts and Sushi? Yeah, she's gone. She's got her man. She's happy. Do you remember Danny California? She's gone. She's got her man happy. She came back and then she left again. Bunch of people fooling around. Actually, you know what? I know some behind the scenes stuff on that, which is absolutely funny. You guys would not believe how many of like, you know, the Tinder profile or all the Twitter profiles you see with like the fancy tweets. So many of them were like briefly dating. It's like a weird sexual social circle. And I just like, I got books to sell, man. I will say this. Everybody who was on there for branding purposes, like I'm selling a book, I got a course, I'm doing a YouTube channel. As soon as they started using it as a dating app, their work output just dropped off a cliff. Off a cliff. What's that got to do with the Zoomers? Because this is what the Zoomers are doing now. I'll give you some examples, too, of how funny some of these things are. So Zoomers don't go to the bars anymore. They don't. At least not here. You're like, why don't they go to the bars? Isn't that the best place? A little bit of alcohol, away from prying eyes. It's private. It's sexually charged environment. Yeah. And then they brought in 1 million Southeast Asian temporary foreign working immigrants that refuse to go home into Toronto. And every time there's a bar night, they just flood the thing with their stupid paid off puffer jackets and their stupid rented Beamer 3 Series. And the girls are like, I'm not going out anymore because I'm tired of being groped by third world diaspora. And so the girls stopped going out. And if the girls aren't going out, why would the guys go out? So now it's just like a bunch of immigrants partying it up and getting drunk every weekend. Blast in the car, which is fine. I'm glad they're at least able to take part in the Canadian dream. So what are the Zoomers doing now? They're joining running clubs, man. They literally join running clubs. You know why? Because third world people don't run. They don't run. It's almost like if you're like an old school like KKK member, you decide to go hang out at the pool because they won't get their hair wet. It's just funny. So they have a whole different type of environment then to practice game. They can't be doing night game. There's no alcohol lubricants there. There's no crutches. And you have to be good at running. You can't be crap at running. You have to be in somewhat good shape. And so they're kind of adapting to that, which is fascinating. The principles are all the same, but the individual stuff, like your best opener is what's your 5K time. It's kind of neat. I love the real life dating app. So easy. Be hot and let married women hit on you in front of their vegan husbands. I'm blessed in that I don't hang out in the kind of circles and venues that have a lot of those like desperate housewives, I will admit. Yeah, wine and cheese clubs. You know what's the funniest part about that though? Is I'm talking about the cyclic nature of history. In the 70s, back when Spaced Out was the top selling British science fiction sexploitation comedy, British comedy out there, they used to have like key parties and fondue parties. The key parties were just, you'd get a big bowl and everybody would throw their keys in, and then the chicks would all grab a random set of keys, and whoever that was, that's who you're going to fool around with. Because that was their dating life. They didn't go out to the disco. Are you crazy? I'm going to the disco. I'm going to that bowl of keys. Pull me out, dick. The fondue parties. Let's melt cheese, but slowly, and let's dip it in sausages. It sounds good. That's what the Swiss were like the most sophisticated people in the 70s. They're kind of the same way now you would look at, who do you look at now for sophistication? I want to say Europe, but I'm like, no. I guess Japan. Yeah, they're kind of like how Japan, like the tea ceremony and stuff, it's all very sophisticated. That was like Sweden in the 70s. Sweden and Switzerland, anyway. And they all have the same issues we have. Girls are 20, 23. They have all the options in the world. And when most people are giving unlimited abundance, they kind of act like pricks. What the fuck do they have to lose? Every girl in her prime right now in the world, or in America and Canada too, is a version of that Zelensky-Trump meeting they just had. And all the girls are Trump. Look, you little manlet. I have no Trump accent. Look, you little manlet, get out of my office or I'll feed you to the Russians. I'll feed all 5'3" of you there, you Slavic bastard, and don't come back with track pants. Yeah, of course they will. And that's not different. That was I remember that too, dude. There was, like, when you're at the bar, you almost had to, like, I don't want to say hit on ugly girls, but if you saw the top 10% hottest girls there, they were really not worth the effort, because most of the time, those ones had a giant attitude. So the B tier, perfectly fine, very attractive women, nothing wrong with that. Generally more pleasant. Why? Because they had to be. Why were the hot girls kind of bitchy? Because they could get away with it. And they wanted to filter because everybody was bugging them. So I kind of understand it too, and I could see guys would have probably been the same way. And so yeah, now guys are like, oh, she won't even swipe up my Tinder profile. It's like, well, let's see your Tinder profile. And it's like a picture of World War II. You're like, oh, Jesus Christ, man. World War II for the Zoomers is like fishing photos for boomers. Like, dude, like, I get it. It's a fun hobby to play around with this stuff. You gotta stop putting it on your Tinder profile. Yeah. Well, it helps right now because I got like a raspiness to my voice. I'm not sure why. I think Trump sounds so tired. You seen that? He's out there and he's still got energy. He's up and out and about and doing his thing. But to hear him talk, it just sounds like he's world worn. It's like, I'm just over this shit. I'm out. He's like, but before I go, my enemies have to suffer. Let's cut some more aid. I hear Washington DC is having like a housing crunch right now. Everybody's selling. Prices are dropping off a cliff. Debts are being recalled. The workforce is clearing out. The city is losing population. Baltimore has become the main production center of Washington, D.C. It's absolutely insane. And there used to be, like, a lot of what you see now, as far as dating scene stuff, that all came from D.C. That's another thing people forget. They're all like, oh, this is like California or L.A. or New York or something. Like, no, it's Washington, D.C. Do you know why? Because Washington, D.C. had the most ideologically captured women ever. You had to have amazing game because the girls there were always like Trump derangement syndrome, but for like Mitt Romney or something stupid like that. Like, fucking what? It's just what it is. That's like, so Jack Murphy was from DC. Roosh did some time in DC. Chateau Hertis, his first blog was called Royce in DC. Everybody was in DC. Everybody was hitting on DC girls. Everybody had DC girl game. If you ever wondered, who are these women he's running into? Why are they the worst human beings on earth? They're the political future of America, sir. They're the ones currently running the DEI programs now. Is it any wonder these guys got hardened? Is it any wonder that in the whole anti-DEI LGBTQ discourse, that the red pill dudes, the manosphere, whatever you want to call them, those were like the frontline defense because they're the ones with the most experience. Oh, shit. I see it. We're going to get to it. A Pringles can with veins has a $5 super chat.
So the meme, they're very good. This is really, they've taken it.
True Alpha
named Ryan Stone.
It says, ask Murphy about the article he wrote cuckolding his wife. Clear up the cuck article. Clear up the cuck article.
Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me?
If I wasn't prepared to literally impoverish his entire bloodline,
I am now concerned for my career.
And I'm still recommending clear up the cuck article.
You know what? Fuck you for bringing this up. Yeah. Fuck you. Heartfelt.
I'm not going to have those guys back on my channel again. Absolutely not.
Just use a little bit of fucking common sense.
It is just...
That's great. You should.
Fuck you.
Sorry, apologies.
Just keep going, dude. One foot in front of the other. Before you know it, this will all be in the rearview mirror. Fuck you.
I can't even. All right, so I'll read a super chat now. It's more than just we're more than just the memes here. Pringles can with veins. Gen Z and Gen Alpha will be the first generations with a third non-gay option in AI sex bots. Artificial, sure, but it's not fat, no pickle, and accessible. I'm gonna hard disagree. I think the AI sex bots are the fusion energy of the new generation. If you guys don't remember, where it was like nuclear fusion is the new clean power source. A thimble of water will power a city kind of thing. And it was always 20 years off. Like, oh, in 20 years, we're going to have the tech. They said that in the 70s. They said that in the 90s. They said that in the 2000s. They're saying it now. 20 years from now, we're going to have cold fusion. And it's the same thing here. The sex bots are taking over. I swear to God, they were talking about that 10 years ago. Do you know the only advance they had? The only advances they had is the thing blinks now. That's it. I really don't think so. And I don't think it's going to take over anyway because it's not addressing the real problem. The real problem isn't about guys not having stimulation. With the hub and the hamster and the red tube and all the different options there's more than enough options. With like how many types of VR headsets out? I know for a fact there's a Rule 34 on VR stuff like that. There's no way there's not. And the AI sex bots will run on fusion energy. But you see what I mean? Like if the whole thing is about guys struggling for an immersive experience that a human being isn't providing, there's already multiple options for that. And they're all, as far as I can tell, extremely niche, socially taboo. There's no revolution. And what's going to happen now? You're going to make a Rosie the robot that gives blowies? I'm not buying it. Plus the fact on top of that, what you're adding is a whole... So not all guys who aren't getting laid have bad hygiene, but guys with bad hygiene aren't getting laid. You start adding a biological-ish sex toy and the poor hygiene. I don't know how much these things cost. I remember back in the day, Real Dolls, they were selling them at like $13,000. But if you're so the animatronic one, the Pirates of the Caribbean version's got to be more, or maybe it's less. I don't know how the tech works there. They'll run through these things in 3 months. And if you're the kind of guy who can make that much money anyway, that you could be running through like a used Honda every 3 months, then you could probably find yourself some ladies of the night. And so there's just better opportunity costs at every price point and everything you're trying to solve for. So I don't see it. I don't see it happening, and I don't ascribe to the doom and gloom. Because the issue isn't really that guys don't want to get, or it's not about the getting laid. It's about the human connection part. And I know that sounds wishy-washy, but it really is. And this is the part the Zoomers are actually mad about. Like I don't know if they were promised, because I know the millennials, we weren't promised. We were told, like, forget it. You're going to have 7 careers. You're going to get fired from all of them. Get used to it. Social Security is not going to be around by the time you get to collect. Pensions? Nah, man, we're getting rid of those. Those suck. We're not doing those anymore. So I can't imagine Zoomers were given a much rosier picture than that. But it seems a lot of the guys lament that they just want a fair shake. They want to be able to, if they work hard, they do the education like they're supposed to, they can get a good job, and with a good job, they can get a good family, and with a good family, it means they can have a good set of kids and this stuff. The basically like the set aside middle class life script, the white picket fence, we used to call it. Pejoratively, because we're kind of like, why do you want the fantasy? Do you want a unicorn while you're at it? Having said that, cyclic nature of history, right? Cyclic nature of history. Back when this wasn't even red pill yet, like this would have been global war on terror. I was fucking fresh-faced sailor, kicking ass, taking names, sleeping with girls. Dr. Thomas Barnett, geopolitical strategist, probably one of the smartest guys we know, which is most likely why you don't ever see him on the news talking about Trump, because he's not an idiot. Talked about the Arab Spring. Remember the Arab Spring? The Arab uprising? Yeah, it was crazy. They had kind of done what they're doing here with the Zoomers and the millennials, but mostly the Zoomers, where they were cutting off opportunity, economic opportunity, And from the lack of economic opportunity, they found no way to get the beta buck side of hypergamy fulfilled. You know, get a good job, get a good life. Girl wants to settle down, have kids. Perfect man for that job, right? And you guys kind of know, red pill side, we know that, like, okay, that's like a closed off avenue. So you go for the alpha fuck side of it, the exciting guy, that one. And then that's the guy that they try to latch on to, and it tends to be a much better thing. Whether that's the optimal path or not is irrelevant here. Yeah, you guys shouldn't be doing that. Well, most guys are. Most guys will be. Most guys will never not do that. And that's just the way it is. So we're not talking about the optimal red pill navigation path because they want the beta buck side. It's fine. But, yeah, for Arab Spring. So once they stopped having it, they were pretty pissed. Guys were pissed. There was a lot of seething resentment, but they all had families to take care of, you know, moms and sisters and stuff like that. So a lot of guys were scraping by, basically like Aladdin, selling food in a food market. Anyways, this one guy, and I can't remember his name. I'd have to go look it up. But he was Tunisian, if I'm not mistaken. And the government at the time had this great idea of putting, like, shitty women bylaw enforcement cops in there. And they were cruel to these guys. The one guy, he was like working his ass off. He was like selling oranges on the street corner. That was the only way he had to support his family. After he had gone to university to be an engineer. It's like, I could sell oranges. I don't need a degree for that, but hey, whatever. So she robbed him. Well, pay the fine at the station. She robbed him and then kicked over his fruit cart. And the guy was so demoralized, like he didn't even fight back. He lit himself on fire. He just like, fuck it. And that spark hit the tinder, and the Middle East lost their shit. Now, being how the Middle East is a bunch of kings and princes and sultans and what have you, they realized right away, it's like, all right, we're going to put this thing down, but if we don't want more of these, we got to figure out some way to give our guys a shot. So there's a huge amount of reforms that happen in the Middle East there. There's we got a Saudi in chat, so you can ask him about all this stuff. But yeah, it's pretty interesting to see how they have completely done a 180, built stuff up again. They've even liberalized a little bit. They got hoes in the kingdom. It's crazy. And we're seeing the same thing here. Like, there is a lot of Zoomer men who, whether you believe it's true or not, they don't see a viable path between migrant displacement, hypergamous nature of women, the beta buck side completely closed off. Now, wouldn't be so much of a problem if there was a new generation of like Ryans and Rolos for the Zoomer kids talking about, this is what I did at work for me. You don't get that. There's not a lot of them. I think the closest we got is like Jack and Nuke, but I think they're millennials too, so they're not even counting. There's no younger ones. The younger ones are all grifting it. Crypto bros for life. Promising great wealth. Why do you want great wealth? Because the women want great wealth. No, they don't. Kyle Rittenhouse didn't need great wealth. You know what he needed? Shoot 2 pedophiles. All right, quick pause. Dark Knight Dev, $5, 1 cent super chat. Good man, good man. Rest in peace, Gene Hackman, America's last take no shit actor. His wife probably found him, gone, and went to delete herself. What's your favorite Hackman movie? Oh, look at that. It's a good question. By the way, did not realize Hackman is like giant. I know in Hollywood you kind of can't get a sense of who's big and who's small or whatever, but I guess Hackman was like a beast. And then it kind of made me realize, what the hell's Superman's name? Not Keanu Reeves. Damn it, who's the guy who broke his back on the horse? Hold on a second here. Superman. Is it 79? Oh, for fuck's sakes, come on. Actor. Nicolas Cage, that's funny. Channing Tatum, George Reeves. No, not that old. Dude, there's like, I asked like, who's the actor for Superman? And they have like 50 names on here. What the fuck? And they know the one I'm looking for. Actually, you guys have probably said it by now. Christopher Reeves. Thank you very much. Christopher Reeves. And then you see him standing next to Christopher Reeves, who sounds like a foot taller than him. I'm like, holy shit. Christopher Reeves was huge. That explains when he fell off the horse how he broke his back. It's like a 7-foot fall. It also explains how everybody looks borderline retarded wearing his old outfit, his old spandex outfit, because yeah, the guy was a giant. Anyway, so my favorite Gene Hackman movies, I'd have to say Superman 2, which is like, really? Like, yeah, kinda. Unforgiven's obviously a good one. You can't get wrong with him that one. He plays the really good corrupt sheriff. And there's one that I want to be a fan of, and I've just never gotten around to with that whole what do they call that? The Chinatown? I think it's called Chinatown. Or the French Connection. French Connection, that's the one. French Connection is one of his that I want to get into, and I just haven't gotten around to it. So I'll have to make some time to see it. Yeah, I don't know. Gene Hackman's one of those guys that I always enjoy him in movies, but he was never like my go-to guy. He's kind of like the Bret Hart of acting. Like, what does that mean? Well, Bret, until recently, until his whole shooting stuff that he's been doing on YouTube everywhere, Bret Hart was never anybody's favorite wrestler. He was always everybody's second favorite wrestler, but he was everybody's second favorite wrestler. Some people were Hulk Hogan fans. Some people were Ultimate Warrior fans. Some people loved Randy Savage. Some people liked Sting, Nash, D-Gen X, Rey Mysterio Jr. fans for some reason. Chris Benoit fans for some inexplicable reason. I know his family's not a fan of him. But every single one, and none of those guys could agree on which one was the best. The Undertaker, oh, for sure. And you're like, all right. But everybody was like, nope, top 3, Bret Hart. Absolutely. So Gene Hackman is the Bret Hart of acting. And you heard it here first. Yeah, he was in a lot of shit. A lot of shit, too. Okay, anyways, we're getting distracted. Let's get back to the Zoomers. Oh, before, I realized we haven't done these in so long. Since we're doing nostalgia, we're going to do some of the new ones, but we'll get back to the old stuff.
Welcome to the neighborhood. Yeah, welcome to the neighborhood. And she said she was welcome. Why don't you come out? I'll give you a tour of the house. Let me show you. I'll give you a nice house. Little behind the scenes footage for everybody there.
What the fuck are you doing? I don't know. It's just sad nostalgia. It felt right. It feels right. It felt right then. It feels right now. Oh, look at you guys. I've got a whole wrestling thing now, and everybody's talking about the WCW WWF split, and I refuse to call it WWE. Fuck that. It's the F for me. Fuck them pandas. Fuck them pandas. Slap the like button like slapping Zelensky. Yeah, so like, Zoomers are in a weird place in their life, and I get it too. Like, when I was a kid and I was growing up, the last thing I wanted to hear from was the generation older than me. Absolutely. The Gen X guys, the boomers, like, ah, fuck you guys, we got it. We have it all figured out. We're smarter than you. We've all been to college. And so I see a lot of that too, where it's like, and I've done episodes on this. Like, you remember, I'll give a saying, like, the old people lived in a time that's so different from now that they have a hard time adjusting their mental models. And the young people have no experience in the time that they're in, so they can't give you any advice either. So everybody's kind of running on like empty here. I don't know what the fuck to do. The boomers are still talking about, oh, just walk up and say hello. It's like, well, what after hello? What do you mean? How do you not know what to say hello? Well, sorry, Dad. You closed the school for 4 years during COVID. I haven't had a social interaction since the millennia. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. Remember our Sunday dinners before the divorce vibe? Dude, I might lean in and do like a whole series of them. They'll just be so fucking avant-garde and out there, but it'd just be kind of enjoyable. Ask your dad to rate your Riz. Yeah. And not to mention, like, if your parents are divorced, talking to mom, ask for her advice. She's going to tell you everything you need to do to not be her asshole ex-husband. You know, don't ever be like your dad. Fuck that guy who knocked me up and I loved him for 10 years and then I got bored and moved on. Fuck that guy. He had a minor character flaw that's untenable, but at the time was extremely attractive. Heaven forbid somebody should almost write on that dynamic in person. Yeah. Yeah. So I get that sentiment too. Of course, that usually comes with the bootstrap mentality, and I don't mean like go work at Panda Express. I mean like, okay, so I can't figure it out. Let's just go and A/B test the human condition again. If they tried to reinvent the wheel that the old Usenet pickup guys did, or the mystery method guys, or the Roosh guys, or all those guys, if they just tried to reinvent the wheel, I could see that as being like I would be all up in there, man. It would be awesome to get on one of these things in ground zero for once and start writing down all the relevant information and keep like a nice tome of the way things used to be. I think that would be awesome, but they're not doing that. They're not. There is a weird learned helplessness that's different this time, and I don't know where that leads. I don't. And you don't have to take my word for it. It's very obvious. There's the chattering classes are up in arms right now that, oh my God, Andrew Tate has the soul of the nation. The children love him. Of course they love him. I loved G.I. Joe growing up. I'm not about to go fight some terror. Oh, actually, I did. Fair. Watch G.I. Joe. What's next? Join the military and go fight terrorists? Like, what idiot would do that? Damn it. Out of all the self-owns, me on a random fucking Saturday. Son of a bitch. All right, so don't... But they're following it, and it's like this weird pastiche. It's not actual whatever the male identity is, because there's many things. There's not just one thing. And they have a cartoonishly overblown version of it. And the only reason that has any traction whatsoever is because it's a vacuum being filled up. A vacuum. There's nothing out here. Guys are told everything about them is wrong and they need to set their stuff aside. People have their parents telling them, no, we need to give Jamal a turn. It's like, fuck you, Dad. You know what I mean? Fuck you, Dad. The red pill grifters shill for Trump all the time. Sad as if women are... I don't know, man. Nowadays I'm realizing when we talk about red pill grifters, it kind of reminds me of when Troy and them used to talk about the black pill doomers. It's like this weird pseudo fake demographic that exists so we can beat it up. But like, do they really exist? Like, who the fuck are we even talking about? Anthony Johnson? Like, who fucking cares? He's been irrelevant for 10 years. Look at this guy. Look at this dude.
Boom, what's up, fam? Got some big news to share that unfortunately is not so good, so I'm gonna jump right into it. You're gonna watch this video and you're gonna cry. At least we can laugh at your eyes as you cry, looking in the corner like a little girl in the fetal position.
Nobody knows who that fucking is. So when we talk about the red pill grifters, I'm like, meh. What, Andrew Wilson? When was he ever red pill? Because he went on Rollo's stream once and started running his mouth about the benefits of Jesus, and then everybody's like, hey, aren't you a chain-smoking alcoholic with a stepmom with 3 kids from 3 baby daddies? And they're like, shh, I'm trying to grift here. Stop trying to attack my character. Stop trying to besmirch my wife, sir. Let's debate it. Dude, I will murder your whole family, and he'll be sitting there with like let's debate it on my channel. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, fail to run the cube like Rex before Kate. It was one of the symbols. Okay, so Bishop's talking about failing to run the cube like Rex did before Kate. So he's talking about the book. There's this one thing, and I didn't make it a huge theme in there, but there was a bunch of connective threads that kind of kept going throughout the whole story to kind of carry you along. Otherwise, it's just like a collection of short stories, and that's not really any fun. But one of them is he was learning pickup, and he's like, oh, I want to use the fancy thing I learned, the cube. And he keeps trying it, and it never works out, and he's trying really hard. And then he finally gets it to work, and he's like, it doesn't have to try so hard. And he kind of realizes like all this stuff was just a waste of time. What am I doing? Just dancing around. And he lost real opportunity for happiness because he was like, no, I've got to do it by the rules. I'm always about the rules. Follow the rules, do the right thing, follow the plan. And the whole point there is like, yeah, his following of his rules always ends up screwing up his life in so many different ways. And that's the funny part. Like I said, there's levels to this thing. So if you haven't got it, by the way, go get yourself a copy. It's absolutely worth it. I have no mouth and I must shill.
Hi, I'm Kurt Vonnegut. I'm looking for
Ryan Stone.
What's that? Fuck me.
Hey, Kurt, you read lips. Fuck you!
There. F you, Kurt Vonnegut. All right. How are we on time? Actually, we're pretty good on time right now. So back to the Zoomer thing. And you see all the same crappy platitudes every time for these poor bastards. Like, I get it. It's always just the dad saying, and they just use it as an opportunity to soapbox. Oh, your dad should have taught you this stuff. Dads should. And it's like, my house is on fire. Well, you should have bought fire insurance. It's like, grab the fucking bucket, dude. Oh, your father should have taught you how to work the hose. It's like, thanks, man. I'm so glad that in my trying times, you're there. You're there beside me to preach about how morally superior you are than me. Did you do any of this stuff? He's like, no, I actually cheated my wife, and I don't know how to put out a fire either. It's like, well, then shut the fuck. FYI, Bob with a $5 heartfelt super chat. Fuck, you guys, add a penny, take a penny. It's fine either way. Watch out for the $5 ones. This is a career-ending super chat right now. Speaking of the convention that won't be named, what was the sole purpose of the convention itself? Well, that's actually a two-pronged question. The original one was he had brought a bunch of his like grifty buddies onto it to do the thing, and he liked it as an idea of like Harlem Globetrotters of online brands, right? And then he would always bring one star speaker that was like useful in something. So for ours, he brought Joe Navarro, the body language expert, the one who used to do interrogations in Iraq and worked for the FBI. So it was pretty cool. Another year he brought Dr. Robert Glover. But then it'll be just a bunch of like just grifter guys. Anyway, so he was running out of money on this one. And he was broke, and he was like e-begging. Rollo funded him on that one. And that, when it became, then it was more of a vessel for Rule 0. Positive male identity, male sexual strategy. That's it. Started out 50-50, moved to 100%. Everybody got on board with it. It was great. And that was the sole purpose of the convention itself. Well, it was sort of. There was conflicting interests, and there was a civil war. And let's just say autistic Iron Man won in the end. But he lost too. So whatever. Captain America for the win. Yeah. Where are we going? Oh, back to the Zoomers. Yeah, so it's all platitudes. It's everybody sitting there ranting about how they're better and more moral than the other guy. You know, the guys are like, I don't need you to tell me how great you are. I'm looking for a solution to my problems. Of course, you can't be treating that as sincere either. Because, like, we all get into these arguments. And every time I even start to engage with one of these guys complaining about how the dating world and his economic insights are nowadays, it's so hard. And it's the same shit. It's impossible to write a book nowadays because there's no publisher who will not take you because you're a white man. Or I have my college degree. I can't get a job anywhere. It's all taken over by H-1B visas. Or I can't get a girl. They're all dating the same Chad who's getting all the girls, right? The same thing. Very hopelessness message. And to which, yeah, most guys just like, well, you should have been like me. It worked for me. Like, fuck you. But then you kind of engage it earnestly. It's like, dude, I get it. It does suck. We've all been there. You probably have it 20% worse than me, which is fine. We're not keeping track of this. Yeah, so like where you would have 5 messages you'd send out on a dating thing, you'd get a response back. Guys are doing it like at 100 to 1. So it's just like dismal. But there's some nice things here. Oh, thank you very much. Get yourself a woman that brings you a nice branded red morning coffee mug at store.ryanstone.com. Makes the coffee taste better. Makes the misogyny sweeter. Get yours today. It's not hopeless. It's Canada. But the point is, yeah, like all these things suck. So there's some things you can do. And then you start going over like the like very basic stuff. And this is what I tell everybody. Like, don't ever try to red pill your friends. And that goes for the Zoomers. Don't try to help the Zoomers. The Zoomers don't want to be helped. The ones who are complaining, while they have valid complaints, just wait. Once you start adding some things that have actually worked for you, and it's not like you should just go work at Panda Express. It's like, hey, when I was in this situation, this is what I did. In my case, do a little bit of online branding, write the book, make sure you market as much as you, if not more than you actually do here, and get that. And then what do you usually get back? Usually you just get back excuses and arguments. Well, it's always like, yeah, there was this writers community one, which is just ridiculous. He wrote some book called Space Pew Pew, which millennial coded. I get it. They said I couldn't write, I would just write some stupid space thing with lasers going pew pew, and so he called his book Space Pew Pew, which I'm like, have some frame, buddy. But anyways, whatever. He's doing it, and he and somebody else is complaining that it's very hard to get sales. And I kind of watch, and they don't brand at all. They don't market at all. They don't even have an email list. They just put it in Amazon and like, there, it's so good, people will have to read it. And it's like, no, they won't. They don't have to know it exists. And then some other guy went in there, and he's like, dude, you should get... And he was bragging about his books, and I looked, and his books were about as popular as mine. They're like, 30, 50,000 on the list. So it's good. It's not great. It's no Colleen Hoover. And they're sitting here just arguing over their egos. And I come in like an idiot doing exactly what I tell you guys not to do with some like very tangible things you can do. And it was just like, I instantly regretted it. And it's the same thing. You talk to Zoomers about the economic things. Like, yeah, we were told the same thing. Careers are not going to be a thing. You're not going to be able to get in these jobs because everybody wants to hire women, or everybody wants to hire an H-1B. So you kind of have to develop your own careers, do this thing. And then they just give you excuses, and you just don't understand, man. It's like, I just told you I understand. I gave you an example where I understood. I understand. But they can't get it out of their head that everybody who's saying anything is just lying to them. They don't feel the pain. And I just don't. I'm old. I'm old enough. I'm not old, but I'm old enough where it's like, I don't feel like going through this anger phase again. Let some other Zoomer walk him through the idea of how to survive in the current economy. I don't know what to tell you. Silver Bishop, $5 super chat. If the $5 super chat should cancel you, shouldn't you have millions more around, especially since it's in real money? You don't get it. You don't get it. It's not about the money. It's about the constant need for audience validation. It's like, why did Tate gloat about committing all those crimes? It wasn't making him any more money. Yeah, but everybody on the internet told him he was awesome. And so he's like, I'm going to keep... This is the part where you grape women. And everybody's like, why would you say that? He goes, yeah, but the kids love me. It's like, yeah, kids are a huge fan of grape. You know who else is? Romanian authorities. Although I guess the American said, no, just send him to the States. It's cool. And then he flew down to... Both of them flew down to Florida. I don't know what's going to come of this. Did the U.S. get them extradited to charge them here? Are they here to like escape extradition to Romania? I don't know. But let's just say Florida man has met his match. I am actually worried about this. So let me put it in historical perspective. Any World War I fans in the audience? So we have right now a Balkan Slavic head of state in America doing his little tour, trying to get support. We also have two Romanian criminal anarchists floating around somewhere. We don't know where. Now, last time this scenario was set up, kind of saying we started World War I. Just saying. Just saying. That's 50 Canadian dollars. Yeah. Yeah, our economy's... That's the one thing I do say for Americans when you guys are very doom and gloom about your economic futures. I'm like, hey, relax. You've got at least 20 years until you end up where Canada is right now. And it makes you guys feel better. You're like, oh, it could be worse. I'm like, yes, it could be worse. All right, one sec. Oh, there we go. Odd, I keep losing the chat. Why am I losing chat? All right, so if you guys are saying anything right now, I don't know what it is. We'll get back in there. Let me do some troubleshooting. In the meantime, let's yeah, this one. I'm gonna wordsmith this one.
About fucking time it ran out.
Do you like anime? Do you like cyberpunk? Do you like vibes, Kino, or whatever the kids are calling it nowadays? Do you like a female cyborg that hits her full power level when she's nude for no reason other than it's awesome? Do you want to go back to a time when you watch cartoons, but you're a little too old for G.I. Joe? Well, wonder no more, because I have the movie for you. Japan has peaked with Akira and hasn't yet found its groove with teenage dramas and weird tentacle porn. The Japanimation empire has succeeded where Pearl Harbor could not and achieved a total cultural victory. Some of the best people in the business, with just enough CGI for flavor and just enough of a great idea to put you in a kino coma.
Just another unidentified corpse.
You will not find the corpse. My code name is Project 2501.
This movie is so great that it's the only anime that came close to dethroning Akira as the greatest animated film of all time. And they did it without requiring the blood sacrifice of 1,000 Korean animator souls. It's Japan's answer to the Emperor of Earth in Warhammer 40K. From the director who brought you most of the Japanimations that you dad grew up with, and single-purpose writers, they made this their life, their world. Ghost in the Shell is all they know, and it's effing awesome. The politics are corrupt and complex. The characters are brooding and augmented. The most humane are the least human. It's Blade Runner for weeaboos. It's Akira with robots. It's Max Headroom, but without Diet Pepsi. It's 5 years into the future. It's Ghost in the Shell, 1995.
So I see in chat, and yeah, so Still I Rise is actually hitting on the next point I was hitting at here, where it's I'm saying Zoomers don't get it as if it's like a unanimous block. It's not actually. What you're watching is the further bifurcation. I think the word is I'm looking for bifurcation of the Zoomer demographic. It's the same bifurcation that millennials had. It's the same one that Gen X had. It's the same one that boomers had, silent generation, all that. The difference is now with the internet and social media acting as a force amplifier, it's becoming a clearer demarcation line. And I don't think it's getting wider. Like the 80-20 rule, I think still applies here. It's just that now there's no gray zone, very clear, and people who have locked into their social media silo. So the guys that are, because he's saying here in his chat, what is it? I manage a team. One of my top sales guys is 25, has a lacrosse coach on his side, and he gets hella poon. He's part of that 20%. And I'm not saying top 20% is like an amazing Superman. They're just normal guys, but they're just good at what they do. In this case, getting laid. And they enjoy top 20% social media funnel, right? They're the ones that watch I'm assuming Mr. Beast videos, because somebody has to be watching those. I don't know fucking who. Or like car stuff, or crypto bro stuff, or whatever. And then there's that bottom 80% content, which is, and don't be offended when I say this, but there is a ton of World War II, World War I, like all that nerd stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of it myself, so I get it. But back in the day, you were a nerd with the nerd stuff that got around, and now it's kind of like there's this weird, different nerd culture. Like there's nerd stuff, but that's cool now. But then there's nerd stuff that people who aren't cool watch. Like there's no guy who's ever gotten laid is like, what do you do for fun? Oh, I read World War II documentaries or read World War II books. Not really. It's one of those hobbies you still kind of have to keep your power level hidden on. Whoa, what you do with a $4.99. Good man with the $4.99 super chat. Finally, a solid alpha male in this group. You're on a effing roll with Orion. Menahem Golan is looking up from hell with great pride. What the hell is Menahem Golan? You had my attention, but now you have my curiosity. Israeli film producer and screenwriter. Oh, he's the guy that did the Delta Force movies. Oh, dude, he did a lot. Delta Force, Over the Top. Ninja 3, The Domination, American Ninja, and American Ninja 2. Missing in Action. Missing in Action was probably, as a kid, that was my favorite Vietnam movie when they shot that guy in the head. I don't know why. I never saw Deer Hunter. The Death Wish series. Oh, was he the guy who just did like every canon film? Because I'm like, this list is looking very familiar. Death Wish. Private Popsicle. What the fuck is that? Hot bubblegum. What rabbit hole have you put me onto, sir? Oh, Cyborg with Van Damme. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I get it now. I get your comment now. Menahem Goland looking up from hell with great pride. I'm not going to lie either. The people who own the rights to that make it so hard. They are on a hair trigger to nuke any video of theirs you use. It's actually kind of annoying. Yeah, Over the Top, out of all the movies, a truck driving, arm wrestling, father-son movie. And it was like the biggest deal ever. We're like, how the fuck did that happen, you know? But it's good. I'm glad you guys are liking it. Like I said, it's growing. It's doing really well. Like, as we go into the channel now, it's... Where's my stupid stats so I can actually see what I'm talking about? We finally hit... Oh, that's for last month. 10,000 views in a month. Dude. That's getting good. If it hits... I think this channel does like 30. So, like, if it does 3 times better than it is now, and it's like a 10th of the size of this one, it's on par to be, like, bigger than this channel, which would be awesome. Although, because it doesn't have as much long-form content, it has a lot less watch hours, but we can work on that. But yeah, I'm grateful for every guy who's coming in to watch that one. Everyone who likes it. It's just me. It's like, I get it, the sentiment now. There's a couple trends that I see happening, and this is kind of tying into the Zoomer thing. So the first is the millennial ironic detachment. It's getting old. It had the same thing that like boomer hippies found out. It's that once boomers became old, their stupid hippie everybody love and peace thing became cringe. We used to call it try-hard. Try-hard used to be the term for it. Try-hard, cringe, be in a sweat. That's what the kids are saying now. It's like, oh, don't be a sweat. So they were being a sweat. So yeah, I'll try to translate it for all generations. And now that millennial irony thing, that and excessive cussing. For some reason, I don't know how, but like urban lesbians have taken over like vulgarity, and it's just made it so cringe. So cringe. Nobody wants to do it anymore. Okay, I see Free Gender with the $5 super chat. Please read in chat. Would not let me super chat you this. I'll look. That's weird. It's not sending me anything. Yeah, if you have a link, Gender, that's probably why. Just ditch the everything from the www and before, and then your links will, like, I'll have to reconstruct them here, but they'll go through. So yeah, I'll read in chat what you're sending. I just don't see it on my end. I know there are still simple now. They just do it in private with OnlyFans. Before there was R&B music, they could actually had to leave the house. Are you guys talking about the... Oh... Can't see any chat Free Gender. Yeah, me neither. I have a feeling if it's anything to do with what Bobby Trauma is saying with the OnlyFans thing. I've been on here before and I've said as much. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, and I'm not saying it's not getting bigger. What I am saying is it's about the same influence on your life as the whole trans issue was. It's rounding error kind of numbers here. Because what is OnlyFans does their numbers. And it's something like, they said there was 3 million content creators on OnlyFans. 3 million. And even if you assume all of those are just like young women doing porn, which it's not, there is a ton of gay stuff on there. And there's this, I don't know how big of, I think it's like 10-20% of it is actually people just wanting to talk to their friends. Like, no nudity stuff whatsoever. They're just like, OnlyFans. This is only for the fans. Here's my stuff. And you're like, oh, that's cool. But even if you were to take the whole 3 million, when you think about it, that's like, what, less than 1% of the American population. But it's not just America. It's also Canada. It's also Europe, South America, Mexico. So you're talking like over 1 billion people with 3 million content creators. That's about the same numbers as the Troon stuff, you know? Have you ever seen one in your bathroom? Not really. Have you ever met one in your life? If you live in a major metropolitan city and you're in or like in San Francisco's tech hub, and you're in certain like more degenerate creative spaces, you're probably never going to run into one. Like you're never going to see one at your bank job, at your bank office. Yeah, it's a rounding error. All right, two. Don't be a Billy on this one. Why don't I tell the guys to stop doing? I'm not my brother's keeper, man. Look, people are gonna say what they say. I can agree with it. I can not agree with it. I'm not gonna sit here and have a spurg out. How dare you tell Jack's telling you about Zoomers? Jack, get your shit together, or I'm out of here. Stomp my feet. What do I look like, Zelensky? You don't want to know what happens next if you don't do what I like. Fuck off. I don't care. Here, gender. So if it's really not letting you send that stuff, either it's the length of it is too long, you're using cuss words, or it's a link. So just skip some of that stuff here, and I'll as soon as I see it, I'm keeping an eye out for it. I'll try to get through to it. Anyways, yeah. So it's a rounding error, and I'm not saying that means to ignore it. I'm saying that means you need to be about as aware of it as you are for the Troon thing. You know? Your nice little ocean. About as much as the Troon thing. So yeah, you might run into one. But to be fair, in Thailand, I ran into a ladyboy. They're like, are you? She goes, yeah. Or I guess he. I don't know how to, I don't know how to do it. I really don't. I was like, are you one of those ladyboys that keep running away? He's like, yeah. I'm like, geez, you're good. Really good work. Like, thank you. And it's true. And so, like, we very quickly developed a rule when you're in Thailand. Like, the 10s are all lady boys. The women are all 6s. It's like that Bronze Age pervert meme. Have you seen the one where they show, like, men versus women, and they use, like, peacocks, and they use lions? So, like, the peacock is just, like, this little brown chicken, all scraggly, and then the man is this luscious plumed bird, or the lion has, like, this flowing mane, and the female lion just, like, this scraggletooth. Here we go. Okay, free gender. I see yours. Worked at my first job going on 3 years, never called in, with 3 certifications. Is that really what they triggered? Was the word certifications? Crazy. Got my first raise of 60 cents. So here, this absolutely, and this is not a Zoomer specific thing. This is everybody. When I was doing stuff like that, corporate, it was the same thing. The military, even the military, same thing. When you got, so your first promotion in the military, for example, when you get to your leading Siemens, it's a $500 a month raise. You went from like, it's like $5,500 a year raise after taxes. But then after that, there was some ranks where your pay goes down. Like when you went from a master seaman to a PO second class, because it puts you to a different tax bracket and then it taxes you differently, you ended up earning $20 less a month. Yeah, that's so weird. I have a feeling there's some third world diaspora shit going on there, free gender. That would make sense. The H-1B visas, like, don't let certifications be a thing on here. Yeah. But yeah, so here's the thing. And then they give you a 60-cent raise. You know what a 60-cent raise is? It's actually a pay cut. It's a pay cut. Because even in a perfect world, of which we are not in a perfect world, inflation rests at 2 to 3%. 2 to 3%. That means your spending power drops 3% every year just from the excess printing of money and extra spending of money. If you earn $100, you now have the equivalent of $97. So when you get raises, they make it feel good because, oh, you got a 6% raise, but you actually had 3% of it gone to inflation. So you really got a 3% raise, but it felt bigger. And more often than not, like in the last couple of years, God, dude, inflation was like 20%. And then raises were put on hold. So everybody was just told, yeah, you're taking a 20% pay cut right now and there's nothing you can do about it. So here's the thing. You're right. You did everything right. You did exactly what you're supposed to do. You were the good little employee. Why are they punishing you for it? And it makes no sense. It doesn't seem like it makes any sense, but here's the thing. Here's why it makes sense. I don't want to single you out here, but I kind of need an example, and you're my example here. What did you do? They basically told you, you can eat the inflation on this stuff. And you were like, okay. You got mad. And you should have gotten mad. That's kind of a kick in the ass. Because, like, you gave them your all. You did everything. So why wouldn't they take care of you back? They didn't. Not only did they not, they tried to make it look like it was like for your benefit. Hey, 60 cents, man. 60 cents. Eh? But you stayed there. You're angry and you stayed there. So why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they take advantage of you? It's this one thing, and I think because of the helicopter parenting of the Gen Xers and the millennials for the Zoomer kids, is they've trained you guys to be too trusting, too loving, too, think about people's better nature. It's the one thing that I'll be forever grateful of my upbringing for, is that I was surrounded by some of the worst shitbags you can imagine. Like, a child shouldn't be exposed to the Hell's Angels inner workings, but fucking here we are. So when I see stuff like this, to me, it's like, oh, I remember when the inbred guy was doing that to some of his employees at work back when I was a kid. I remember this. They will not, and it's no different than women. They will treat you as shitty as you let them. And this is the hard thing to articulate to a Zoomer. Your job will give you under inflation level wages, and you'll show up because you want to be the good employee that does the good job. And then they treat you like this, and then you still show up, so there's no reason. Nothing's broken. Why would I treat him better when he's clearly happy with how he's being treated now? Yeah, but he doesn't look happy. Yeah, but he's acting happy. He did exactly what he's supposed to do. Same thing. One sec. For some reason, the connection keeps popping out. Yeah. And it was one of the reasons I left too. Dude, it was paying really well, but it's like, I didn't get anything done. That was the problem. It's like every time I was put in a position, I wasn't there for what I was doing. I was there for what I represented. So, case in point, when I worked financial regulator, information security, absolutely great job. I loved it. I was there more so that the director and the VP and the CIO could say, we have ex-military grade information, like we're taking great steps to ensure the safety and security, like, that kind of shit. So it's just basically because I was a veteran, they get to say it's military grade. Startup, same thing. For their compliance 27001 standard and their SOC 2 and their SOC 3, they needed my position there. But they didn't want me to do anything. And I know it's like, why are you complaining then? You're just making money for not doing anything? Yeah, but then you have to do this stupid dance where you have to look busy. You have to be busy. You have to make all these... You have to basically do Sisyphus. You have to roll a rock up a hill and let it roll down at the end of the day. And I was just like, you know what? Fuck that. And here I am 5 years later. Free gender, $5 super chat. My coworkers have been here for 4 years. He got his first raise in 2 of $1.50, and he was happy until I told him that's it. Yeah. But here's the thing, and this is what... Whether it's about sex, whether it's about relationships, whether it's about the job, whether it's about just dealing with parents and coworkers, people treat you as shitty as you let them. Now, here's the thing. If you guys still show up to work, you've just signaled to them that they can throw some pennies at you, a couple quarters, and that's good enough. You basically, the only weapon, the only freedom a guy has is his feet. Fuck you, I'm out of here. I'll do my own thing. Now, here's the dilemma. If they're the only job in town, if they're the only employer, if they're the only ones that you can work for, then yeah, they get to throw this stuff at you and it's seen as manna from heaven because that's your only option, in which case, yeah, those suck. And I think we're getting increasingly to that situation where there's just no options for people. No options. Multiple reasons for that. Different episode, not going to get there. But then it's one of those things where you kind of have to serenity prayer it. Like, this is something I can't change, so eating shit with a smile is all I got right now. AKA Ottawa and the federal government. Well, the only problem with Ottawa and the federal government is they actually have a labor union, which is the weirdest thing. The only effective labor union we have in Canada is federal employees. Blows my mind because they're the only group that's still getting raises and stuff throughout the pandemic. They're just getting money hand over fist, and it's like, if we don't fire... And we've tripled the size of it, too. It's something like 1 out of every 4 Canadians works for the government. 1 out of every 4. That's UBI with extra steps. It's absolutely insane. You're going to move back to Ottawa? Ah, dude, I hate you already. Ottawa, that's out of all the cities, that's the one I want most to fall into the ocean. Just... Yeah, government meat isn't worth it. Well, I mean, it all depends what you want. If you're just there for a paycheck and you have no problems shoveling shit with a smile and rolling the log up the hill, it's an absolutely great place for you. Absolutely. Just keep your head down, do your job, clock out every day. If you want to go that route, more than happy to. Your priorities are elsewhere. You want to write the great American novel in your spare time. You want to just settle down and be stepdad to your, like, whatever it is you want to do. If it has nothing to do with any kind of job satisfaction, go for it. Most guys don't, though. Most guys like the idea of going somewhere and accomplishing something and being, like, having some dirt at the end of the day on your hands. Like, I have created something. But the endless bureaucratic pile of paperwork tends to be fairly demoralizing. And let's face it, for a lot of these jobs, somebody had a theory, and I don't know if it's true, but I think it is. It makes sense. Where a lot of them, they make the job needlessly difficult and draining, because that's the best way to ensure that people aren't looking for other jobs. And I was like, dude, that's actually, like, I can see how it would manifest that way, because the companies that do have this lot of this make work stuff and train their employees, they have better retention, so they tend to do better in the long run, versus the ones that are like, it's a nice easy working environment, but people hate it, so they move on, and then they lose all their talent, and then they die off. So I'm like, oh, it makes sense. Oh yeah, well, when you have all the Indians working corporate jobs now, government jobs are just about it. Yeah, it's the weirdest thing, man. There's a lot of company headquarters, and I have a lot of friends here that work in various different ones. And every now and then I'll go to visit. And I remember when I first got here, like 7 years ago, it was crazy when I first saw it. It was like, is everybody in your office like a woman or gay? And you're like, yeah. There's a couple older guys in their 50s and that. You're like, right, fair enough. And then all of a sudden after COVID, I came back and like every business became Mumbai. Loud, and the volume got louder. Everybody's on their phones talking. Like, even all the random stuff, you're like, dude, like, the curry smelled good, but you have 8 different types of curry and they mix together and just makes, like, the smell isn't great when you just, like, haphazardly mix all the spices in the same room. Microwaves are going off the shelf. Yeah, it'll take up your whole time. So I get it, and that's the thing. Sexual stuff, millennials had the same concerns. Like, dude, the whole idea of the family, the white picket fence, it was just not happening. So what are we going to do? We had to figure it out for ourselves. And we had some, I guess, thought leaders, lack of a better word there, who figured it out as best they could. All right. And they tried everything. Murphy tried cucking his girl to see, that way I don't have Juanes for everybody. Some guys tried that thing they call ethical non-monogamy, which is basically like a live-in girl that you cheat on constantly and she cheats on you until one of you freaks out. Like the Jeff Miller stuff. Roosh tried the whole, yeah, I'm checking out. I'm gonna go find the Lord, and that's it. I'm done with women. Cernovich decided to do like the 3 marriages and 2 divorce route with a bunch of kids. Tucker Max tried to just like do a very white pick. Like, everybody tried their own little things. I went with the common law thing, like no mandated government marriage stuff. Which one works? Rolo did the very standard, typical thing too. Married, late 20s, early 30s, empty nesters now. So like, everybody's tried out various different paths to see what works. And it's been 20 years. And so you can kind of see which ones ended up doing well, which ones ended up doing poorly. And you've got tons of examples anyway. Any way you want to go around to it. A free gender $2 super chat. I volunteer to work 50 to 65 hours a week. Yeah, right there. Voluntold, man. For 60-cent raises? Voluntold. I ain't volunteering. Silver Bishop, €5 super chat. He understands, by the way. Military grade in reality is the cheapest and oldest stuff out, at least in Austria. Oh, that is a worldwide phenomenon, sir. Worldwide phenomenon. Military procurement in every place I've ever talked to is all the same thing. Whenever you're putting out a request for an NSN NATO stock numbered item, everybody puts their bids in. It's all price. Can you meet the standards? What's your price? And then they'll take the cheapest one. And the cheapest ones are always under standard. But by then you're already invested, so it's too late. But yeah, so military grade is usually the cheapest ones. Absolutely. But it's one of those things where it's like flammable and inflammable. It sounds like one means it's able to burn and the other one means it's not. Like, no, they both mean they're able to burn. So when people hear military grade and they hear like civilian grade, they think, oh wow, civilian grade's shitty and military grade's great. They're like, no, they're both shitty. Same thing. The inflammable of procurement. Is it possible to snag a corporate job where I can just coast and use my time off to focus on what I really want? Probably not. Nobody's got the financial. I mean, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but you're not going to be able to coast. You can do the quiet quitting thing, and that'll work for a while, but you're going to have to be moving out to move up. Yeah, to focus on what you really want. I hate to say it, but you're young. Now is the time to like take a bit more risk. Diversify your portfolio, try different things. I get the whole, like, do your side hustle. I don't agree with the idea of a side hustle. Because, like, when I first started this, I was still working in corporate. I didn't think I quit for the first year. When I took it seriously. So for like a year. And it's just when you're splitting it between the two things, you can never, like, obviously I wasn't doing as well at the job as I would have been if I wasn't doing this. But this wasn't doing as well either. Like, the output I do now when it's a full-time thing is far superior to anything I did with it as a part-time. So there has to be, from what I have found, the best way to approach it is use your 9-to-5 work to build yourself up a safety net, a nest egg, and start your branding, get it to like a viable point. But then once it's at the point that you know you can sell, like if you're selling things, make sure you sold some stuff first before you leave. If you're branding, make sure you have a brand before you leave. Like, I think I had 10,000 Twitter followers and 2,000 on YouTube before I did the switch to full-time, which was surprisingly enough. But at the same time, I also had 2 years of savings. So I gave myself a year. I'm going to give this thing a year to see if it works. And if it doesn't work in a year, then I'm moving on. It actually only took like 3 to 6 months, which was nice. So I got to retop up the nest egg pretty quickly. But yeah, you have to take these calculated risks. This goes for everything, with the girls, with the jobs, with that, yeah. And they'll throw a 60-cent raise at you. Have you considered then? That's my cue to go find somebody else. Move out. It's been a saying for like as long as I've been around. You have to move out to move up. It's absolutely true. There's no rising up the hierarchy anymore. It's no corporate loyalty. You go from company A to competition in company B, and they will pay you the equivalent of like a 15-20% raise. It's one of the few things that I have enjoyed from my time in the red pill here is once you see guys, they finally understand, like it clicks, the idea of the concept of frame, the concept of dread, the concept of the mental model, like all the stuff. It clicks, they're red pilled, they got the praxeology down. Without fail, every single time, within like the first 6 months, guys will say they've made like 20-25% more than they would have otherwise. And it's like various different mechanisms. Sometimes it's they move to a different job. Sometimes it's they stop waffling on their own personal entrepreneurship and they go forward on that. Sometimes it's just they actually just go up to their boss and ask for a raise. Like there's a whole bunch of different ways that we are undervaluing ourselves. That for some reason, once you have frame, everybody finds a path, and it's usually like 20-25%. So for most average guys, they're leaving a quarter of their value on the table just by being blue pilled or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? So it's fascinating. So it's not like I know, like I get it. Things suck and there's doom and gloom, but I also know that if you're not listening to grifters who give platitudes like working at Panda Express, you listen to the people that actually matter. You make an effort in the places that count. There is progress to be made. Now, is that going to be good enough? I don't know. That's up to you. Obama's BlackBerry era. What the hell? Yeah, blue collar here till I retire. Less bullshit than corporate. Make enough to be content. And that's an option too. That's the other thing. So there's 2 reasons I don't prefer blue collar work. First off, the whole destroying your body thing. Now, it obviously depends on the job. But like, just from the military, which I still count as blue collar, back problems, arthritis in my hand, broke some bones in my eye, some nerve damage in my legs. Like I got pretty beat up and I got off well. Some of my friends, younger than me, are just like having trouble bending down to pick up their kids. Like one's missing the entire gel pack from like one of his vertebrae. So like their plan is they have to fuse that one together so his back is just like solid in one section. It's like that way I can still bend over and talk to my kids. I'm like, all right, fair enough. Some guys with PTSD. One guy they literally worked him until his brain snapped. I was like, holy shit. He goes, what happens? It's like it's the weirdest thing. It's just like you become a robot. Like you just click, like it snaps. And I was like, oh wait, I recognize this one. Oh, you should have called me, man. Yeah, my hearing. That's why I'm still yelling in the fucking microphone. I see it right now. It's redlining constantly. And I keep trying to tweak it down because as I get more excited, the volume gets louder. And I just know it's clipping too. Like I know that's clipping. I don't want it to clip. But I have to regulate my voice. Anywho. Yeah, so there's that part of it. And then there's the lack of scalability, which is annoying. Unless you want, like if you're a plumber and you have to open like a bunch of plumbing places, but it's not scalable. So for example, if this podcast takes off, it is the same amount of effort for me if it has 100 viewers, if it has 1,000 viewers, if it has 16,000 viewers. You know what I mean? That scalable thing I find is enjoyable. The problem with that is that everybody's trying to do things that are scalable, so your competition gets more fierce. Now, as a plumber, if you're the only plumber in the area, guess who's getting the call when the pipes go burst, right? And it's not so much it's the future, but it's a viable path. It's a viable path. But then you have to ask yourself, like, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish? What is my goals? Is this getting me where I want to be? And that's a question you have to answer for yourself. I can't give you an answer. Some guys will like it. I get to have a very modest life. I get to be very comfortable. I get to watch my kids being raised. I get to go work. And my job, like I'm not like a roofer, so it's not breaking my back. That's fine too. Plus, there's always the thing during the collapse. Dude, if you know how to build houses and the zombie apocalypse happens, you're probably going to be pretty valuable because like, hey, we need a house in the woods. This guy used to build houses. Here's an axe. Yeah, plain and simple, men are built to work hard. We are, but at the same time, we don't have to be. Don't let your biology be a straitjacket either. And a lot of the time, you don't even get to pick. That's the other one. You don't get to pick. I never decided to be I decided to be a writer, but I never picked that path. Every decision I made up to this point kind of got me there to where that seemed like the best option. And that's the one thing I've found that works the greatest, especially if you're a Zoomer. It's one thing you can take from me that I'm directly telling you. Don't argue with me. Just take it in. Is you take the opportunities as they're presented and you put yourself in a position to make more opportunities. That's kind of why the whole like live in the rural sticks, like live in a bigger city. More opportunities are available there. Network with people you otherwise wouldn't, because you would be surprised. Like Kirsten, she did a video on how awesome the dog walker is. Really good, by the way. She actually caught a lot of stuff in the book that I didn't even know I did. So kudos to her. Met her. She's a ex-Marine through Allie, Real Femme Sapien, and I met her through Rolo. So it was like 1, 2, 3, 4 connections there. And then bam, that one there. Did her a commercial. She's doing reviews of my stuff. All of a sudden we got like a bunch of like barter work going on with each other. That's an opportunity that otherwise wouldn't have been there. I just take advantage of it when it's there, right? Seems like a nice enough person. I like and then it helps for everybody. Her videos are doing better on her thing. You know, she might be losing her government job. Videos are doing good for me because then a lot of people who otherwise would not have been exposed to my work are getting exposed to my work, which is great because I really do want people to enjoy it, and I think they will. Yeah. Yeah, and Vector, see, you're right there too. My neighbor's daughter is pregnant at 16, not a lot of opportunities. That is the one thing that I think is funny. So the birth rate, you know, everybody's talking about the fertility decline, we're like 0.6 replacement or whatever. And I can't remember who did it, but they did some deep dive into the numbers. And the one thing that seemed to explain away a lot of it was teenage pregnancies. How funny was that? Once you get rid of teenage pregnancies, the fertility rate drops off a cliff. So yeah, not a lot of opportunities. And yeah, so that's like the rational, reasonable thing is to not have them in your teenage years. Absolutely. Because it does limit your options. Anyways, Free Gender, $5 super chat. I am literally scared to eat eggs for breakfast because every week that goes by, the eggs are increasing in value more than my raise. Yeah, see, that one I know is temporary too, because you're in the States, right? Like eggs here are still fine. I think it's $8-9 for a 30 pack, or $4 for a dozen. But in the States, if I remember this correctly, Biden got about like a third of the chicken fleet. Is it a fleet of chickens? I don't fucking know. Culled, so that way there would be an egg shortage and an avian flu scare when Trump got into office. And the idea is that they would use that to drill in, like, oh, inflation is bad. But then everybody knew, oh, you killed all the chickens. But so that should work itself out. Yeah, okay, so it is $8 at Costco. It's funny, too, because I just bought a pack. I should know this. But that's what I mean. That's not a systemic issue. That was a policy decision. And that's why you're seeing that. And I think what a lot of people are finding is a lot of this stuff. And that's the one thing for Zoomers I want to give you guys some hope with. A lot of what's happening right now is fake, gay, and retarded. Fake, gay, and retarded. And I don't mean this in like the funny way. I mean, it's literally fake, gay, and retarded. What's he talking about? Did you see? It's one of my favorite things to do if I'm doom scrolling Twitter is what's the latest thing, like just a random shit just closing its doors because it turns out they were funded by USAID. So Elon will shut off the tap on some USAID government slush fund. And then all of a sudden, like Trans Theater in Zimbabwe shut its doors. The Canadian Cultural Center of Lesbian Arts shut its doors. All of this stuff that was like dystopic and like, oh my God, we're never coming back from this. Their drag queen story time is gone. All of this stuff turns out like CIA funded taxpayer slush fund shit. Everything that's fake and retarded is all CIA psyops. Everything. And I'm not even saying this is a conspiracy theory. They're literally saying Politico, one of the biggest news organizations out there, found out, oh my God, like 60% of your funding came from USAID? Well, no, we didn't get direct money from the government. They just used that direct money from the government to pay for these $10,000 a month subscriptions that we have because they needed 700 of them at work. It's like, sure, buddy, sure. You know how this works. Isn't that great when you got that? No. He didn't launder money with me. He just gave me a bunch of cash through 3 different subsidiaries of which I put into a cash-only business and they got to take out at a much reduced tax rate. But we didn't launder money. It's like, dude, you just explained laundering money. Yeah, I still got a chuckle out of the DOD-funded bad guys beating the CIA-funded bad guys in Syria. The whole thing is just hilarious, too. And I've, like, you know me, I'm conspiracy theories, I'm more of like a, yay, jet fuel melting steel beams, show me about the Federal Reserve. Egypt's the same as Christian and Moses, and I like the zeitgeist stuff. I love that shit. Absolutely entertaining. I'm not one of the guys, though, like, did you see the fucking board? And like drawing the red lines. I'm not that guy. But when you see this stuff, it's not even conspiracy theory. They have policy documents. They email you weekly on their progress. They have a website. There's the people's names on there. At this point, it's policy decisions. Like my big one was the Century Initiative. Everybody's like, what the hell is that? It's like, oh, it's the Canadian conspiracy, the World Economic Fund and shit. I'm like, what? What are you, some kind of Trump supporter? I'm like, just pay attention. You go to like centuryinitiative.ca. What is this? It is a progressive political NGO whose goal is to increase Canada's population to 100 million people by 2030 or something like that. And then you look at who runs it. You just go to the About Me page. There's like Dominic Blank, who is the Chinese ambassador for Canada, Nigerian-born Ugandan national living in London. Like full-on globalist shill. Not even Canadian. Helping Canada with the Chinese. We got a huge amount of Chinese immigration. They're putting all like the evilest of the lizard people in there. All the Steins you could think of. And then when I talk about it, it sounds like a conspiracy theory. But I'm like, dude, here, pull it up. It's not some random schizos putting together the pieces. It's that they put it here in plain language. Why do you want to increase the population? Because of GDP. That's their only justification. I'm like, bro. It's like that JonTron clip. I don't know if you ever seen that one. Where it's like, where do you believe these conspiracies? Like, well, here on the TV where the guy said it, that he's doing it. That's this conspiracy. That's where we're at right now. So that's the good thing. In the sense now that all this FGR stuff is losing its funding because they pissed off the wrong aristocrats in America. I don't know where the next couple of years are going to be for Zoomers and that, but I will say, if you listen to nothing else in this, do listen to this. Keep your head on a swivel. Pay attention to what's going on, because the old adage that the Gen Xers told me was change a law, create a business. So as things are changing now, there's going to be opportunities to make gainful employment, maybe to take advantage of the system. I don't know. Find out what they are. And the beauty of it is you can tell everybody. This is the part that makes me laugh the most. You don't have to hide the knowledge, because most people don't do shit. Red pill stuff's been around for 20 years. What percentage of people have actually taken any of it to heart? Like, none. As many as the people who got like dick surgery. That's it. Nobody. Yeah, well, it's like it's optimistically cynical, Vector. Optimistically cynical. I'm very cynical about all this stuff. I don't think things are going to get better, but I think things are going to change, and in change, there's opportunity. Now, like my own way, like for me, obviously the red pill stuff, a lot of it has kind of percolated into mainstream discourse right now. So me getting up here telling you about hypergamy isn't going to hit as hard as it used to. It's mostly been mainstream now. So I don't have to do that anymore. But then I'm like, well, those guys were solving their stuff. They're going to need entertainment. So like I'll start doing some fiction stuff. If I had the financial backing, I'd probably start trying to make like indie films with that. I think that'd be cool too. But I don't even know how to start with that. Yeah, I low-key want one of those Zelensky long sleeve shirts. You know what's funny? I thought for sure he would be in a tracksuit with the stripes down the side, the Adidas ones, but I guess he didn't. But from what I hear, those long sleeve Zelensky zip up polar fleeces or whatever he wears, apparently they're like $400 a pop too. They're not cheap. He's using that U.S. aid money for good purpose. So yeah, that's my expectation was that people are going to want more entertainment. People want to be able to, but like you can't just entertain the way people used to, like Daily Wire. Matt Walsh's days of just staring at a monitor while Dylan Mulvaney dances around like a fucking twink while he shakes his head like a disappointed father, those days are over. That cheap entertainment, that's not coming back. You got to figure out, how do you entertain somebody this? I'd say some of the people that are really on the cusp of it, Sam Hyde. Deceptively good with his finger on the pulse. I'd say out of all of the current online brands that are out there making stuff trying to be topical and current, I'd say Sam Hyde is probably topping the list right now. He does better than the Tates. He does better than Matt Rife. He does better than who would be another example of like a new, definitely better than Bill Burr. Holy jeez. Gave him some money and a little bit of fame. Forgot about his own comedy special. Don't fuck with your face. It's like, hey, you just got a face job. Whatever. Star Wars needs me pretty. Could this mean the end of annoyances like Pearl? I mean, Pearl's not going to be the same. Pearl's not stupid either. She's smart enough. Smart enough to do well. She's smart enough to be a survivor. And she's got enough money to throw out the project, so she'll do well too, right? Like, I have a feeling she is working at kind of doing the same thing that like Cernovich and those guys are doing. You ever see that with the Epstein files? Where they're like, oh, the FBI's releasing the Epstein files, and they gave everybody a file folder. It's like, there you go. And everybody's showing off the cover, like, yeah, we got the Epstein files. We know who the pedos are. And then everybody's like, dude, the entire thing is redacted. So you just got like a binder full of empty sheets of paper with black ink all over them. And you're sitting here talking about it. They didn't care about this shit. They don't care about the Epstein files. They don't care about the red pill truth. They don't care about any of that stuff. What they've been doing this entire time is looking to get an upgrade to their careers. And right now, oh, they just got White House access. That's all they want. White House access will definitely increase my brand visibility. And now there's a real chance that you will see correspondent fucking Horatio Troonblower on Fox News talking about the latest Trump tariff. And it freaks me out that that's possible. Freaks me out. Say with Pearl, yeah, she's going to pivot to something. I don't know what her ambitions are. I don't. But I know she will latch onto them. She'll put a bunch of money into investing on getting her there. I can see her just as easy pivoting to some... Like, she's not going to be a Jenna Marbles that does her thing and then one day gets offended and leaves with her pile of money. She is going to definitely be around. She's going to find some network to move to, some online thing to be. How do we stop her? Why do you have, does it even matter? The only thing I've ever wanted from her is to shut up about the red pill. Her and Myron and Tate. Like, guys, just fuck off and leave us alone. Because they're just in the way. That was it. That's the only beef I've ever had. Is just, you're just in the way. You're stealing all of our talent. Glenn Lawrence could have been here, god damn it. We could have had Glenn and you ruined it. Yeah, and that's kind of that's another thing for the Zoomers too. It's the kind of, and we also figured this out back in the day, is you really, once they gave you like 300 satellite TV and cable channels, you really had to start curating. You had to curate. You couldn't just take in everything, because it wasn't like when I was a very young kid, they still had the 13 station TV channel with like there was a dial, and that was it. That's all the channels you get. You just get those 13. And the 13th channel never had anything on it anyway, and channel 2 was like the it would tell you what's on all the other channels. So it was really only like 11 channels, maybe 10. Channel 3 was what you turned to a Nintendo, by the way. So those are the only channels you got. And then it was very easy. So like the news, there was one news channel or an alternative. There was Coke and there was Pepsi for everything. There was Transformers, there was GoBots, there was Ninja Turtles. No, there's Cops. There's 2 Christopher Columbus movies, pick one and just go. Punisher, there's Spider-Man, pick one. And then once you got 300 cable, you had to become a curator. You had to become a curator. That's when video stores were huge. It's like, oh yeah, there's too many movies, there's too many TV shows, I don't know what to watch. Well, come to this store. There's a guy that's all he does. He'll put the ones you'll probably like in front of you. These are the ones that are the brand new ones. You'll probably like those. Here's some obscure shit in the back. Go check it out. The adult stuff's in the back corner. Go check that out too. And we've obviously lost the video store, and streaming services are just completely negligent in their duties. They're just like, you ever see this one? It's got Kevin Hart and The Rock, and they're fighting Chris Pratt and Ryan Reynolds. It's like, fucking wow. It's the same. I've seen this movie 18 times. It's like that meme where The Rock looks like he's in the same tan shirt in a jungle sweating, and there's 6 photos of it. And you're like, just so you know, these are 6 different movies. You're like, holy shit. Silver Bishop, €5 super chat. Do you actually have a 300 thread count Egyptian cotton duvet? I have to ask for a friend. Technically, I think mine is 600. 600 thread count. But when I was in the military, I actually had some custom. I knew a seamstress, and she made me some custom bed sheets and a custom duvet cover that were 300 thread count sateen, which is like cotton that's made to be like smooth, like satin or silk. So yeah, that was actually inspired by real events, which is hilarious. Cause you're like, oh, is this real? Like, no, is that not real? Is this real? So what's the real thing on here? The bed sheets were real. Bed sheets were real. Okay, Free Gender, €10 super chat. Thank you very much, sir. What's hilarious is radio was actually one of the most advanced pieces of entertainment, because at any moment you could call in, change the dynamic of the show. Matt Walsh will never allow a live call in. Well, I mean, you could allow those. There's some people that do it. It's very shitty, because like when you're doing a call in, you need somebody screening the calls from the other side. Like the Sirius Radio was the last time I think you had a really good representation of it. I would never do it here. I've tried it. Even the T-Rex chat stuff, like I like the T-Rex stuff on the Fridays, but I know there's a certain quality hit that comes with just like anybody coming on, but at least it's like people I know, and they know how to speak in the microphone. They know how not to ruin a stream, stuff like that. If you just let randoms in, they'll fuck it up. Turns out there's a little bit more to this job than you think, which is fine. But yeah, those guys don't. And like, I don't know, do you really want to? To be fair, I actually kind of like the super chat model that YouTube does, where you can change the dynamic of the show with just that in chat. Because it's, first off, it's written. When you write things down, you're able to be more concise. With the super chats, like depending on how much you want to donate, it forces you to be more concise with your thoughts. So it makes somebody actually think about what they want to say. There's a thing on it. I think it's great. Bro, save your cash for the eggs. Guys, don't be so hard on them. But yeah, gender, by the way, if you're having trouble paying for eggs, don't be sending super chats. I don't want to be the guy that's like, he didn't eat. Why not? Because he was donating to Ryan. And I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. Disposable income only, sir. But thank you very much for the super chat. Yeah, the calling in dynamic stuff, there's a certain, like there's a spectrum of just passive, you watch this and you will enjoy it, versus engaged. In other words, like you are 50% of the content yourself. And there's a spectrum in there, and I kind of like it on the YouTube side of things. It makes sense. I thought sateen was a misspell. No, sateen is a specific, it's like the weave style, if I'm not mistaken. Because like with linens, they have a very crisscross pattern, which is why it seems really stiff and it wrinkles really easy. Sometimes you have a 2/1 that's go up 2 threads and then under for the 3rd thread. There's all kinds of different ones you can do on this. There's a whole science to it, and I'm not going to get into it because do you really want to talk about linen patterns on the Alpha Male podcast? You know you don't. You don't. We're going to take a bit of a break. You know what we haven't done in forever? Where in the hell is that? Yeah, this fucking idiot.
I don't usually post pictures of my kids online, but they're infants and you can barely see them, so, you know, it's fine. But a YouTuber named Ryan Stone tweeted, showing off the F trophies for clout. So the babies are trophies that I'm showing off. It's perhaps not a surprise that a picture of a proud father would be so upsetting to the sort of man who clearly never had one.
Not Ryan Stone. I think he's the most important guy in the world. Ryan Stone. Give a fuck about Ryan Stone. Me and him have gone back and forth. Blah, blah, blah. Ryan Stone does not pass the 6-foot test. He's not even a man. So I don't give a fuck with Ryan Stone.
Free gender $2 super chat. He won't allow super chats. Oh yeah, that cocksucker. That cocksucker Matt Walsh. Oh, somebody was asking about Egyptian. Just so you guys know, when I'm talking about the Egyptian cotton, there's actually a technical reason for it. So there's different types of cotton, like different kinds of plants, right? The reason that Egyptian cotton is so sought after is because most cottons have like a 2-inch, like the threads, they're about 2 inches long. Egyptians are 3, they're longer. And so when you have longer threads like that and you weave it into thread, you can make a thinner thread, which means a higher thread count. So how many threads per inch that you can fit. It gives you 50% more leeway because the way you weave it in there. Now, there's certain chemical processes you can do. I'm sure you guys have seen like 600 thread count and 1200 thread count. The problem with those is they ultimately weaken the cotton fibers. And if they put synthetics with it as well, causes abrasions. They tend to actually wear down faster. So for Egyptian cotton at like 300 thread count, you tend to have the perfect balance of strength, softness to it. And so that's why they're the best one. Look at that. I see Rob in the chat. Bro, I didn't watch you guys on Friday or Thursday, sorry. Is it Thursday night? Yeah, Thursday night. It's always the night I'm sitting there like, oh fuck, I gotta catch that, and then the girl has some plans. Son of a bitch. So I'm gonna go watch that one. Is there you know what? Actually, you know what? I didn't even want to know. Surprise me. Holy, imagine a Rollo Tate podcast. There was 1 or 2. We had him on Rule Zero, I think, once, and he went on Rollo Show once or twice. This stuff was all way back in the day. I was there. I think I did one thing where he was a guest on it once. And as soon as I started hearing him talk, I instantly, like, oh, dude, this takes me right back to, like, the Hells Angels coming to visit my stepdad shit at the ranch. I'm like, I'm out. That was it. I will admit, like, my gut instincts about people based on my experiences tend to be pretty good. Imagine a roll. I would never imagine that. Jesus. Although, to be fair, I'm trying to get down to Vegas to do an Access Vegas with Rollo. Preferably if I can get Rollo and Clary at the same time. It's looking like April now. April looks like how it's going to happen. So it should be pretty fun. I haven't done anything with these guys in forever, so it'll be nice to kind of get back in there. Yeah, that stuff was 4 years ago, shortly before I got here. Yeah, it was weird, too. All these people were like nobodies. Like, nobody who the fuck. Tate was just some guy, just some random guy. The biggest name at the time was, like, Rich Cooper. Everybody else was nobodies. And that was when, I think that's what soured Rich the most, is that he could tell, like, a lot of these guys were just trying to leech off of his clout, and it was very off-putting, and I don't blame him. It definitely is. I didn't like it either. Rolo's kind of getting that now, which sucks for him, but yeah, I was thinking about getting a sewing machine to make a bag of Dick's bags for the ladies to keep under bed, 300 or higher. To be fair, and it's gonna, so like my mom was a seamstress, and so she taught me how to sew and knit and stuff when I was a kid. I don't do much of it anymore, but I can still hem pants and all that stuff if I need to. I think it's actually a deceptively enjoyable tool to have in the house. Like if you, I mean, obviously if you're really pressed for time and everything you have are suit pants because you have to use them for work, just go to the dry cleaners and get the tailor to do it there. That's fine. But if you're one of those guys that are tired of like all of your pants are always 2 inches out, buy yourself some chinos, sewing machine, kills like half an hour. Put everything perfectly, hem stuff in, hem stuff out. It's kind of like a fun little thing, like learning, and it's the husbandry of the military, learning how to iron, learning how to hem your clothes, learning how to replace a button, stuff like this. It's just one of those, and I know it codes for poverty, but can you make your own corned beef though? I have to learn what even makes corned beef. Let me see. I'm assuming it just means either feeding the cows corn or soaking it in corn. Oh, never mind. It just means the treatment is with large grained rock salt, which are called corns of salt. Okay, so it's just salted beef. Fuck, I can do that. A salted brine. Ryan Vegas episodes would be great with Cappy. Yeah, I think it'd be fun. It's hard to get down there. It is, and getting all the timings to work out is also kind of difficult. And with the Canadian dollar the way it is, it's like, I don't know, I can afford it. Just the idea of committing to a $5,000 Vegas trip where I film like 2 podcasts, it's just like, oh, the ROI is just shit. It's just shit. Yeah, crockpot. To be fair, okay, so last thing for the Zoomers here. We got to go. It's almost the end of time. We got to find out who's doing the thing. For when it comes to like cooking for yourself, I will admit some of the modern tools are great. Like obviously a good knife set, good flatware set, good silverware, whatever. But air fryers and crock pots. Oh my God. An air fryer is just amazing. And then the crock pot is like a lifesaver. From between shredded meat, like you just put it with a little bit of water in a thing, set it on for 8 hours, you get home and you have like perfectly shredded meat. Pork, chicken, beef, doesn't matter. The stews, the soups, the chilies, it's a must-have thing, especially for meal prep. Because if you put 10,000 calories worth of ingredients into a crock pot and you make 10,000 calorie meals out of it, that's the best portion control you can ever come up with. Are you still close with Coop? I mean, as not as close as I'd like to be, but you know, life. He lives way out of town too, so we don't get to see each other nearly as much, but I try to stay in contact as best as possible. It's like my military guys. I only get a chance to see them like once a year, but it's always good when I do. Treat it as a holiday. Don't let Cappy get in your head. Not everything has to make money. Well, it's not that. I just don't want a vacation either. Like I'm not a gambler. My parents broke up because of gambling, so I don't like gambling. And if you don't go to Vegas for gambling, what the fuck's the point? I don't like hookers and I don't like gambling. Like, why do I want to go to Vegas? It would just be to visit. But it is going to be a work trip. Like, I'm there to work. So, ROI does have to factor in. It's not so much a Clary thing. Besides, if I'm going to spend $5,000 on a vacation, I could think of other places I'd want to go. Take my old lady with me, you know? But, we're going to find out who's doing Rule 0 now. I want to say it was Paul? Or was it Clary? I'm going to do a quick vibe check here. Don't mind me. Must be Clary because I can't find it on my thing. Oh, it is Cappy. Yeah. Figure. I met Clary a couple times. He's okay. Yeah, I've been to Vegas like 6 times already, so it's like I know Vegas pretty well, downtown and the strip side. All right, I'll end this one off. So we'll do some appropriate shilling right now. Dog Walker, it's on par to be the greatest release on this channel. if things keep going for the next 2 weeks, we'll have hit our first 1,000 copies, which is like top 1% unheard of book release. Unless you're Colleen Hoover or Stephen King. That's the only people who have better releases than that. So it's a humbling experience. I am glad the people that are reading it or enjoy it. I have not heard one negative comment from it yet, other than a couple people said they thought the cover was too juvenile. But according to the rest of you guys, it's nice and it's refreshing because it was a risk. It doesn't look like anything else that's in the market right now, and so people have to take a leap of faith. And those who have extremely enjoyable reading experience. If you do get it, I'm going to strongly suggest the paperback. It's my favorite part of the read between that and the hardcover and the Kindle. It's pulpy, it's fun, it's designed for like a simple, easy reading experience. There's a lot of people that have said, yeah, I couldn't put it down. I read through it in 2 days. And I'm like, that is awesome. That's exactly what I wanted. The kind of thing where you want to speed run the whole thing, as opposed to the ones that you have to slog your way through. So you read like a bit here, your eyes hurt, you put it down a bit there. I'm like, no, I want this to be a binge. Yeah, the cover fits perfectly. I agree. I can't wait to see if I'll do a second edition. I always like tweaking the covers now. And if you've always wanted to have a collection of the Praxeology books, the hardcovers, all designed, and your OCD will thank you. They all the stuff lines up. It's not that mishmash of shit that'll freak you out. So that's going to be great there too. It's definitely not sanctioned. What more of a compliment could you want? It's Jane Austen for men, and it definitely won't cause me to go shoot 6 cops and a murder-suicide spree like Roman McClay. But yeah, rhinestone.com/dogwalker, or you can go to the Amazon on it. The link for it's in the description. Go check it out. I don't have a link to Cappy's thing, so we'll have to just go there our own way. I'll be a little bit late, but I'm going to try to make it in there. I'm going to have lunch with the old lady first. Like I said, we got Dread, Praxeology Volume 3 Field Reports, Fuck Files, the new version, which is there, I think, and Dogwalker. Where's Frame? Oh, there's Frame. I have the hardcovers. These ones coming in. Also, they're actually, you know what? That's not for you guys. That's off everywhere. So that's it on that one. I will see you guys tomorrow. Spaced Out is coming in. It's gonna be so much fun, and I'll see you on Rule 0. All right, let's lead this out. I've been slacking too much on the.
'79T 2458 Learning Corp. Little Red Riding Hood. Take 1.